going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 3 of the CaptureCraft podcast. I'm your host, Israel Pitchford. We got co-host Jared Harris over here. How you doing, bro?
Hey, you know how we feeling today, man.
Yeah.
We're ready to drill these questions, man.
Yes, sir. And we got our very first guest on the podcast. We got the very own Brent McCoy on the podcast. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, bro. I'm happy to be here.
I feel it. We appreciate you coming on, bro.
The one and only.
Exactly. So to start out, bro, we just want to get into a little bit about you. Who is Brent McCoy in terms of content and non-content? Like, what do you do?
So in terms of non-content, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. I moved here about 7 years ago. And I grew up swimming, actually, not really too much of an artistic background, and kind of fell into the camera space by wanting to start YouTube, and got my camera. People wanted me to film events and such. Things spiraled. And now today, as a content creator, I am mainly photography, actually. I do a lot of studio photography, and my main passion is lighting and also teaching people how to use studio lighting as well. So as of right now, I would say my main thing is portraits, fashion, risque, boudoir photography. And that's my main content.
Got you, bro. So you do content full time?
Yeah, I do content full time, but I also do have a job. We were just talking about this. I do have a job as well to secure like insurance and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah. So how long have you been doing content full time for? I don't think I ever asked you that.
Full time has only been about a year and a half.
Okay,
like a year and a half, 2 years.
And how long you been shooting for? Like the first time you picked up your camera?
First time I picked up my camera was 2017.
Okay, got you. So 8 years.
Yep, about 8 years.
Sheesh. Wow. Crazy that 2017 was 8 years
Time
ago, bro.
flies, yeah.
Before we get into like more of the in-depth questions, what's like your favorite or most impactful shoot that you've had?
I would say it. So we did a documentary. We did a feature-length documentary back in 2021, and it was about Black trans women and the bias that they face. That one was super impactful. It was like a 7-day shoot. We did about 14 interviews, hours and hours of footage. And I actually got to edit the project too.
Okay, I got you.
So I directed it, produced it, and edited it. And then it went around to film festivals and such. So that one was super impactful for me.
That's super dope. What was like the biggest takeaway for me for that? Besides, obviously we know you produced it, edited it, and directed it, but like as a creative, what was like the biggest thing that you've learned or like thing that you got into from that?
So from a technical side, audio. Learning how to run audio properly. Like there's so many things that can go wrong with the audio while you're filming a 8-person sit down talking head session.
Okay.
Right? And the second piece, while, you know, being behind the scenes and getting to listen to the entirety of everything outside of what was chopped down, was just, you know, kind of opening my mind to how other people's lived experiences outside of my own.
Real stories.
Kind of, real stories, real people, real emotions, and getting to see that firsthand and not like on a TikTok screen was just, that was real impactful.
No, I feel that for sure, bro. What are your, we going too far. So we already talked about when you picked up your camera, and how do you balance the creative life and the creative work life and your life outside of, obviously you say you have another job that as well, but like, obviously I know you power lift, all that type of stuff. Like, how do you balance the demand and the load of the creativity and the shoots and editing and all that stuff with everything else that you got going on? Or do you?
I would say that that's still a work in progress. I'm not gonna lie. So for everyone that doesn't know, I don't edit my photos. So I do have editors that I use to edit my photos to kind of delegate that workload. I kind of got to a point where I said, if it's not something that I'm going to put full effort into getting better at, then I need to just delegate it.
Okay.
So I can take that stress off of me. And like you said, allocate that time for other things that I might, you know, want to do or participate in. So that frees up the time to spend 2.5 hours in the gym, powerlifting, or going to my other job, or, you know, hanging out with my girlfriend, all of those things. So delegation is step one and work in progress.
When did you decide like you were to that point where I might as well just hire an editor?
I've been at that point for a minute, but back when I was only doing video, it's a lot harder to hire a video editor because it's a little more particular. I guess I'm a little more particular with it. So once I got into photos and I had a shoot where I really had some stuff that needed to be done to some photos that I didn't know how to do. Once I went through that process and I saw how seamless it was, I was like, I think I can do this every time. And it doesn't take away from my creative process. So
right, exactly.
We good.
You still get to direct the shoot and go through everything, and the final image is still a look that you're happy
I get to do all the parts that I'm great at.
Right.
And you know, I still have, like you said, final say in the final image. I give tons of notes right all over the images. So I'm good with it.
I feel that.
That's what I was about to say. because when we as creatives, sometimes we get a little selfish, I would say, because we trying to figure out like, can another person duplicate what we do and our vision and our work? So given that work that that you directed, giving that to somebody else, how do you get over that mindset of like, they can edit this and I can just have my time back versus what are you doing right now? Like, I'm trying to get my actual like creative process flowing.
Right.
So how do you like separate those two things?
So for me, I guess coming from the video background and like video production. So like I was directing and then someone else would DP, someone else would edit. So coming from that perspective and just seeing that, okay, I might be a good editor, right? But I can't be great at every single piece of this process. So if I can find somebody who's 4 times better than me at editing, and I can work on my communication to eloquently get across the point of, okay, I want this to look this way. I want these shadows to come in here. If I can, work on my communication, that's something I have to own and be able to tell that to them, but they're 5 times better at editing than me, I'm good with it. Every movie we watch, every reference video or reference image that a client sends you was not just one person.
Right.
It was a team that made that happen. When they send you that Prada commercial or those Prada photos, that wasn't just a photographer with his camera in his backyard taking pictures and editing. So I aspire to be like that. So, it's no sweat for me.
So would you say like starting out, would you say trying to develop a system is more important than trying to like actually do everything on your own in terms of like, first starting out?
It kind of depends on where you want your career to go, because I think content creation is its own thing, right? The people who are the one-man band, they can snap out edits within 15 minutes, take the photos at the concert, give them to you after the concert. So that's its own skill set. But if you aspire to be a director per se, or a producer, like honestly, don't even buy a camera. I would say work on how you, direct camera and talent. You don't need to buy a camera to be a director. So it just depends on the job you want to go into. If you want to go into lighting, get on sets with other photographers or other cinematographers and work on your lighting. Maybe you want to put together a little lighting package and do it that way. But you don't necessarily have to master every skill. I would say know what they require. Speak the language, right? You got to be able to speak the language, but you don't have to be extremely proficient in every single piece of the puzzle. Nah.
What would you say got you to the point of like, because I know you work on a lot of sets, you work with other, like you said, directors, photographers, editors, like a collaborative effort, what I'm saying, of people. When did you make that switch, or did you make that switch to where it was like, okay, I'm doing everything, like for example, I do everything myself, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When did you notice or figure out how to get into that next realm of working with a team, you know what I'm saying?
So
did you know someone who like brought you on, or did you?
Nah, it kind of fell in my lap. I'm not going to lie. So my boy Shad, we've been working together since probably like 2018.
Okay, I got you.
And we would just do like collaboration projects together. And eventually it became one of these things where he loved to hold the camera and I love to direct.
Right.
So we started, just kind of every time we would get a project, just work together like that. I'm directing, he's DP. And then before you know it, it's like, okay, we start to meet other people who are kind of, maybe they could be a content creator like yourself, but we can plug them in like a smaller role, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So you just do lighting, or you're going to edit this one, right? And then I loved it. And I was like, I'm not going back to regular content creation. I love this way more. The pre-production, the planning, and just it's so freeing when you're not holding the camera, how precise you can get with a project.
Yeah.
And how much faster and more efficient you can get things done. So I fell in love with it.
I feel that.
I guess now my next question is how you said you got into more the directing side. So I know you said if you want to be a director, you don't have to buy a camera, or you don't really have to buy a camera. But how does that go when you're, if you getting into like the whole production side of things? How would you say, you would know about lighting per se?
Yeah.
If you don't get in there and like use it for like a shoot that you're doing. So like if I'm shooting for, the NFL or anything like that, or promo video, and I know where lighting goes, but I've never actually shot. How do I go to a company or say, hey, I know what I'm doing lighting wise? Do you have an opportunity for me?
So when it comes to like the production side of things, right? So we'll take director, for example. If someone is aspiring to be a director, what I would do personally is seek out those who specialize in other fields, right? So when I work with Shab, for example, when I work with my DP, he's coming with the shot list and we're going to go over it. I'm going to have the overall vision, which is what the director does. You take each department head and you put them together, and that is going to create the project. But I don't necessarily need to know, every single focal length or every single, codec or things of that nature. I'm going to be able to speak the language for sure. Right. But I don't have to buy a camera to do that. Okay. Right. And I would say put together collaborations first, right? Spec projects to really kind of learn how to put together a treatment. Right. What does it look like? Like I said, communication is important. So how do I communicate the vision to a DP, to someone doing lighting, to my gaffer, right, to my sound guy, if it requires such? I think that's one of the bigger pieces that people shy away from is being able to communicate their vision, right? Remember, when you get a client, a lot of times that's where they have the most struggle. As a director, if you're going to bring on a team, if I say, yo, Izzy, I got this project I want to bring you in on, I need to be able to tell you what I'm trying to do, right? And sometimes you got to paint it extremely minute. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They're like, nah, I just got it in my head. I'm going to just do it myself. And that's cool, but that you can only go so far. A teacher doesn't teach every single subject.
I feel that for sure. So with that, and just throughout your whole career in general, what are like some of the biggest challenges you face besides communication when it comes to being a director? And then even before that, like when you first started off with a camera, when you first were trying to get into being a director, all that type of stuff, you know what I'm saying? What are the challenges that you faced along the journey that are like, that you can remember that are like monumental, you know what I'm saying?
Biggest one for me was probably marketing and consistency.
Yep.
I'm definitely somebody who will take a 6-month break and not even know I took a 6-month break. Right. Like, it'll just be like, you didn't even post in 6 months. So that kind of, hinders things. And as I guess when I started my career, it wasn't as detrimental, but as my career has moved on, things just got faster. Like everything has gotten so much faster. Right. Content has become more prevalent where you need to post sometimes even twice a day, right? Right. Stay on your stories. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. So marketing for me, for sure. Gotcha. Being consistent with posting. I know that's like big these days. And
of course.
Those probably the main 2 things for me.
Well, that's something I want to get into is like how do you market yourself, not only to your clients, but like to future clients, potential clients, you know what I'm saying? How do you, Brent McCoy, how do you reach those people? You know what I'm saying?
A lot of my marketing, honestly, is a lot of word of mouth. That's a big one. And then 2, behind the scenes has been crucial for me. When people see, I feel like nowadays people want to see how things are done versus the final product. Right. So even me posting, it could be the best photo I've ever taken. It might say garner, let's say 20 interactions, right? But then I post the behind the scenes or maybe a lighting breakdown, right? Teach something, give people a little bit of education. Now, all of a sudden it's getting shared and sent to everybody and their mom, and I'm getting followers. So I would say the behind the scenes and kind of breaking things down for sure to kind of also too, for the clients to kind of break that barrier, right? Because they might look at some of your stuff and think, well, I'm not to that level. I couldn't really work with him, or, maybe they have some preconceived notion, but you kind of break down that barrier, let go of the fourth wall, let them in a little bit. For sure. And that really has worked for me. That's what the best.
That's what I always say too, is like, especially when I was starting off, when I started posting content, the intention was to make clients feel like they knew who I was. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like when you hire me, and I said it before on the podcast, it's like, you can see an Instagram full of great photos, great video, but I don't know who you are. You know what I'm saying? Besides that little profile picture, who a lot of times is not even you. I don't know who that is. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm hiring a client or hiring a videographer or editor, whatever it might be, like I want to know you as a person and see how you get down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think that plays a huge role into everything that you're saying. What role does your network currently play, like in your success and just the future of your success?
My network is crucial, honestly. One of the biggest things, and this isn't for everybody, right? Yeah. Some people pick up a camera to get into business specifically, and some people pick it up from a more artistic standpoint. For me, it's the more artistic standpoint. So my network is huge in that they're always down to do a collaboration when I want to do some crazy stuff, just to kind of, everything you do with a client isn't going to be the most creative thing or something that you always want to do. For sure. So just kind of keeping my head on straight. Yep. And then also being able to bounce ideas off of, right? I might get a tricky client or something that maybe I haven't done before, watch a video or 2, send them some examples. Hey, look at this edit. I'm about to send it to the client. What do you think? This was the goal. Yep. They really help with that. And then bringing me in on other projects too, where they see, okay, I know somebody with that skill set, and we can bring him in on this project and he's going to kill it. And then I'll do the same for them. So for sure. Network is crucial.
How did you build your network, especially in the Houston area? You know what I'm saying? Because you moved here, sets. You said you moved here 7 years ago.
Yeah, about 7 years ago. Yeah, so really being on sets and just trying to be more, and this is something I've been working on, is trying to be more in the community.
I got you.
I have, like, when meetups are going on, or, you know, maybe there's like a workshop or something, even if I already know, you know, the content, or if I know what's being taught, just still going in, showing face. Because like you said, the BTS, again, while it was enough at one point, now everybody's back to, you know, interpersonal relationships, being face to face. So having to get out here, you know, beat the path.
Exactly. I feel that. So a few other things I want to get into, and we don't have to stay too like on topic, but what are your goals short term and then like 10-year goal?
Short term is to really, I was just telling you, shift the mindset to more content creation for myself.
Okay.
I do still want to, you know, keep my production level high for photography and everything like that, but trying to shift my mindset in terms of, you know, getting more content out for myself. I do want to really branch into teaching, like in-person workshops, putting out more YouTube content to be able to teach people more about the things that I know, and just, you know, kind of monetize that in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
And then 10 years, I would love to. So I've broken this down before, and I'm not sure if you guys have ever watched Fantasy Factory.
Yeah.
Rob did it. So my dream in the next 10 years is like to have my own studio space. It doesn't have to be like crazy big, but where I can like put together like the craziest shoots possible, you know, photo or video, whatever, film them, get behind the scenes and everything. And then hopefully the people on YouTube want to watch it to where that can just, you know, fund my little life.
No, that'll be dope.
And then, you know, get picky with the clients and just have fun that way.
That would be dope.
So that would be cool. And then teaching as well, like traveling and teaching people.
For sure. So where do you see, when you talk about the content side of things, where do you see that balance where it's like, hey, I had to shoot with this client and I'm also editing my own video to get it uploaded in so I can get my network, my reach, whatever it is. Where do you see that meeting like, hey, bro, I paid you for this project. What's the turnaround time looking like? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that either side is right or wrong, but it's your personal opinion.
I mean, you just have to tighten up and then communicate a lot with the client as well. So I feel like when there's dead periods, you're just going to have to batch your stuff. So that's where the batching comes in. And then also where the delegating of other edits comes in. So if I'm not having to edit, you know, this person's photos and I've given them the timeline that they'll be back, then, you know, that'll motivate me to hurry up and get my reels done.
Most definitely.
So I can put them out. And I'm planning on keeping my stuff simple too. So it's not like I'm going to be in there After Effects and doing all of that stuff. No, it's going to be real simple, to the point. So should be able to get both done.
Yeah, most definitely, bro. It's one of the things that I think, especially, that was something that I put a lot of emphasis on last year, is like, I think there's a balance that is like a fine line, you know what I'm saying? Where you feel like, there's sometimes where I felt like maybe I should be editing this project, but like you said, I told you a deadline.
I think too,
what I'm doing, it doesn't matter if I'm sitting on the couch.
Yes.
If I'm choosing to edit my own video, that has nothing to do with when I told you yours would be done.
And I agree. I think that we got to draw lines in the sand sometimes. And as creatives, we do get walked over a lot. And sometimes you do have to, you know, that's a part of your business as well.
Right.
You know, putting out the content and stuff, or watching a Netflix video, or, you know, going out with your girlfriend, your wife, whoever. You need that time too, right? We're not just on command at all times. And sometimes people can think that because I made a post, I'm not focused on your stuff. When you're at work, are you 100% of the time only on one client? Right. I don't think so.
Exactly.
So I do think, you know, boundaries play a part in that as well. Like, this is how you saw me. So this is how the next person is going to see me too. So I need to be able to focus on this as well.
So in terms of like communication, what's your like typical client intake process?
So typically so I would get inquiries. So I don't typically I know some people do the booking where they can just pay and put their stuff on the calendar. I do inquiries just so I can see if we'll be a good fit. From there, it'll be a questionnaire. So I have like a questionnaire that they'll go through to see, again, you know, what is the scope of the project? Kind of what will I need to provide them and what resources will we need? And from there, you know, I'm just very candid. You know, I really am super big on references. I need references for every project. I do not like just do your thing. That's not how we operate around here, because that's how you get, false expectations. You know, you expected something, I deliver my thing and it's not what you wanted. And I don't like to do a lot of revisions and stuff. So questionnaire, we'll go through references and then we'll kind of talk through like, okay, you sent me this Nike reference. We'll go through, okay, I'll try to break it down when I watch it or see the photo, kind of try to determine what that will take. Will it take a crew? Will it be one person? Like, is this something I need to bring other people in on? And, you know, from there we go deposit. I do 50% deposit to lock in the date, and then shoot day comes around. We knock the shoot out. I do final payment that day, and then they'll already have a deliver date for the deliverables, unless it's photos, at which point I send them a Capture One link so they can rate the photos that they want. And let's say your package came with 12 retouches. It'll be 5 days after you send me your selects. So
at what point did you like literally come up with that whole process? Because I'm pretty sure when you first start out, no, you're not going through a whole questionnaire, stuff like that. It's like,
I would say probably 2 years ago. I've definitely been on the references for a while. Like that has been probably since I met my boy Shad, like just kind of, getting a better view of things, because I started out shooting events.
Right.
Like when, I feel like everybody starts out just shooting events.
It's random.
And events is like, you don't really need a reference. It's like, okay, give me a minute long video. But as I started doing more commercial stuff and, personal things, like back when people wanted a lot of personal fitness edits from me, references was a big thing. So that was good for a while. But then, of course, as we all know, one problem comes up and you're like, okay, let me solve for that. Another problem, okay, let me solve for that. So I'll probably iterate it again, but 2 years ago was probably when I started the questionnaire stuff.
Man, that's dope.
Yeah. What was like the big change that made you really go through and start that process? You know what I'm saying? Like, or was there a big change where it's like, okay, now I really need to lock in, and if this is what I want to do, like these are the type of processes I have to go through, or was it just kind of something that you knew you wanted for yourself and eventually finally just did it?
I think it mainly came from being on sets that felt congested and that we weren't prepared, feeling like there was way more that should have been done before we even got here. And now we're here and it's feeling like, okay, yeah, I can think on the fly and I can do all these things, but I'm really not
all trying to figure something out at the same
I'm
time.
not trying to do that much thinking on the fly. Like filmmaking and photography, shit's gonna go wrong. Every single shoot. But it got to a point where I was just like, okay, we need to put more time in the pre-production side, because I'm spending too much time in post-production trying to fix things that we never even knew we needed. Right. So that's where the switch kind of came for me when projects got bigger. And, it was very important that the finite details were worked out before we got on set.
Okay. I got
because when you start, renting studio time, and it's not just outside at the park, it's on a time limit, right? And you're paying for more time if you need more time. And the last thing I want to do is tell someone, yo, we need to add another shoot day. We need to, come out and shoot some more stuff. So it really, when it got to the point where shoots started getting congested on set, I was like, nah, we need to do more in the pre-production to get all this stuff ironed out. And then we can draw a hard line on set. Like, nope, these are the shots we have to get. That other stuff that you just thought up today, if we have time, we'll get it. But the shots that we have to get are on this list that we already agreed on.
Got you. Turning back more to like the social media side, who are some of your favorite creatives that you tap in with on a daily basis, weekly basis, or like you're looking for their stuff to come through your page?
Dang, this is a tough one. I'm horrible with names.
I'll be on the same thing.
I'm horrible.
Like I don't know exactly how someone's stuff look every single time.
Horrible. So what's his name? I cannot remember the guy's name. He just hit 1 million followers on Instagram too.
Okay.
But I love his content. But it's super like After Effectsy, so I would never do it.
Right.
It's just one that I like to watch. In terms of YouTube, Tommy 4K, I do like a lot. He does photography tutorials every now and again. I like his photography style. There's another photographer. His name is, why am I drawing?
My bad. I should have let you know ahead of time. Because I'm the same exact way. I already know exactly. Like you can see his page, you can see his work. And
I'll subscribe. YouTube, I will subscribe. Instagram, I rarely follow people that don't follow me back. It's just a
I feel that
thing. But Adonis, that's his name. His name's Adonis on YouTube. I like his stuff. It's really good. And he gives a lot of free game on Instagram as well. But I have I don't really have like a creator that I follow on Instagram per se, because I save a lot of people's different photos. I will say this young lady from London, her name is Holly, HDM Films, I believe is her name on Instagram. Her stuff is super dope. I love the commercial stuff she shoots for like Fila, Adidas. She's probably my main inspiration right now as far as like photo style, like that contrast, rich style of photo. So I'll probably say it's her right now. I actually did a Instagram reel recently where I shouted her out because I tried one of her lighting techniques. So I like her stuff a lot. Where
do you see like that fine line again of drawing inspiration and then copying? Because like you just said, like you'll save a bunch of photos and I'm sure you'll use them for references. Other people will send you stuff for reference, or it's like, okay, I don't want to recreate this photo, but I know this is what you want. So I'm gonna get as close as I can with what I can do or what we can do without copying this. You know what I'm saying?
At the end of the day, like, first of all, none of this stuff is new.
Right. Nothing's
People have
original.
been doing 2 light, 3 light, 1 light setups since the beginning of time. So I just feel like, you can take inspiration from something and just make it your own.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm, and that's why I don't mind showing what I do.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, you're not going to think like me when on set.
Right.
Right. And we're not going to have the exact same tools. Now, if you try to copy something, it's not going to come out how you think
Nope.
it is. It's not going to come out
because
good.
it's a lot of people out there that's going to be in a sense where they're trying to copy you down to a T, like exactly what you do to get that exact type of image.
Yep.
But this is more so a creative process. Like, once the same image that you can shoot, I can shoot it, but it won't be the same after post. You know what I'm saying? Right. So,
like, when I break down people's images or I watch their lighting breakdowns, I'll take, what they gave me. Mm-hmm. And of course I love the final image. That's why I took inspiration from it. But then when I get on set, it's like, okay, well, how does this work with my image?
Right.
Like, what tweaks do I need to make for the image that I'm about to shoot to look the way that, I kind of have it in my mind. And
or even what can I do to make this better? In my opinion, you know what I'm saying? That's why I think a lot of people will be like, oh, this person shoots for Prada or Gucci or whatever it might be. And it's like, oh, he has to be the best, which a lot of times, yes, they're going to be better than you are if you're looking up to them. But like, you can also take that and twist it your own way to what you think will look better. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I think that a lot of people get caught up on that.
Yeah, I'm definitely, I'm not into the copying because like I said, then how do you create something?
Right.
Right. If you're just waiting for me to post something so you can copy it, like, how do you ever, because there's a lot of people who have posted things. I take it, I do my thing. And then I'm like, oh, but I could do this. And this is a whole nother look. Like, so it just kind of, you got to open yourself up to lean into that creativity as it hits you. So
most definitely. What are you doing now to get to those 10-year goals that you talked about? That fantasy factory of content.
Yeah. So right now, filming YouTube videos. So I'm starting with the free informational, educational content, right? That's where you got to start at.
Most definitely.
So my big focus will be YouTube. That'll be focus number 1, because I feel like my teaching style / personality just fits more with long-term long-form content. So I'll start with YouTube, Reels as well. So I've gotten over my obsession with like the highest quality possible. So I'm using my phone to record some Reels, you know what I mean? While I'm on set, just get the quick stuff so I could get it out there. And then TikTok.
Got you.
Really, really about to tap in on TikTok. And then also something that I've started to do is one-on-one coaching. Mm-hmm. And I've been writing down my process. Okay. So instead of trying to think back to how I, shot a photo, I'm writing down the process now. Okay. Why did I put this light here? Mm-hmm. What specific softbox and grid did I use? What did I meter the lights to? Why did I do it? I'm trying to think through it. Right. So because when you teach it, you have to be able to talk to the more minute things, even though it might have come to you in the moment as something creative that you just iterated, as is. So those are, some of the things that I'm doing to kind of manifest that.
What is the benefit you've seen from like writing down your process and doing all that? Obviously, like we said, you want to be able to communicate that better and do that, but like, has that benefited you on set or all that type of stuff? You know what I'm saying? It
makes it more repeatable for me too, right? Because there have been times when I look at a photo and I can't quite remember how I shot it that way or how I lit it. And a client might send me my own photo as a reference.
I like this one.
How did I even do that? Like, I can't remember. So it has made things a lot more repeatable for me. And that, from the business perspective of like filmmaking and photography, not just the creative side, it's better for you as a business to be more repeatable. Because when you get to the point where people are sending you your own stuff, you got to be able to do it and do it and do it. So yeah, it's made it easier for me to repeat my process.
Got you. Getting a little bit into the business side, we won't go too far, but like when was that time where you realized, like, and I know you have a different job as well, but like, okay, this is not just a hobby anymore. Like, this is something I'm actually trying to do. I'm actually trying to get paid for. I'm actually like seeking income from. And when did you like make that switch from a hobby to being a business? Or do you think you have?
I think that switch, it kind of got forced on me, honestly. Like, it kind of just got pushed on me, like people wanting to, pay for the services. I think the switch kind of came, Yeah, probably about that 2 years ago, Mark, honestly. Before that, it was just, kind of doing what I wanted to do. I was doing a lot of fitness before what I'm doing now. And it was mainly because I was in the gym already.
Right, exactly.
It was like, I'm here, so this is the most natural place to kind of film. So I think about 2 years ago is when I started to put together a little more structure.
Yeah.
As opposed to people just hitting me up at random and, doing something.
No, I feel that. So we're going to do some rapid fire questions. Jared, do you got any more questions before we get into the outro?
I guess going back to what you just said about getting into the business side of things, do you feel like you had to make that switch to like LLC type situation when you started doing more production shoots and being on sets, or was it just kind of like I'll just go ahead and do this? Because it's a difference from when you're feeling like you can show up to a shoot, shoot a fitness video and be done with it. But now you have a system where you're paying editors and things of that nature. So what would you say?
I actually switched to an LLC before I got into the bigger production shoots, but it did help once you get there, because now you're having to send ACH information, their one EIN numbers, and you're handling budget. So when you produce, like as a director, you don't necessarily have to handle the budget. You can just get paid as a director. As a producer, however, you are in charge of the money. So they're sending you the $50K that then you're supposed to send this person. You got to get the grip truck. You have to do the rentals, send everything. You got to get the insurance. So at that point, it was like, okay, it worked out that I already had this in place because I was doing it for tax reasons. So it worked out that I already had this in place. Thanks to my mom. It worked out that I already had this in place so that when they started asking for all this stuff, this paperwork to put me in their system to be able to, send the budget to hire the editors and hire the other DPs and such, it made it a lot easier. So
gotcha.
Fell into it luckily. But yes, I would say if you're going to try to go that producer route where you're handling a bunch of money and sending it this way, sending it that way, needing to get W-9s and such, go ahead and start it.
So just before we get into that though, what would you say? Well, you don't have to disclose the amount, but what would you say the biggest like production you've done?
Budget?
Other than, is it the one you mentioned earlier or just?
Yeah, it was the one it was the Black Trans Bias. That one was around 60,000. Yeah.
60,000, all in.
That's all in.
Yeah. All in. Everybody paid, everybody, lights, everything is there.
Everything. 60,000. Everything. People paid. Rentals, a ton of rentals.
I'm already knowing.
That was crazy. Rented like 6 FX6s. Yeah, it was a lot.
That's dope, though, bro.
Yeah, that was about 60.
Okay, well, before I get into this, we'll cycle back to something I asked before. It's like, what process did you go through, like learning the camera settings? Because you just brought up the FX6. We talked about it last time. Is like a lot of people will buy the next camera, or like we talked about before, Sony dropped 7 cameras last year. Yeah. So it's like, I need the A7 IV or the A7 C2 or whatever it might be, and they just want it because it's new. Just like a lot of things, bro. Whatever it is, like the new thing just dropped, I need that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where it's like if you learn your camera settings, you can shoot with an A6400. You know what I'm saying? You can still shoot with an A6500. And yes, the quality might not be exactly the same, but like you can still get really good stuff.
Right.
And we were talking about how like now that we feel comfortable with camera settings and all stuff like that, I can pick up an FX6 and know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Rather than, it's a new camera. It costs a lot of money, so it's got to be good. You know what I'm saying? What does that process look like for you? And like I started off shooting auto probably for a year and a half. You know what I'm saying?
Oh shit!
And because I just didn't. With vlogging, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, I just didn't know, or I wasn't ready to like go through that pain of making that switch. You know what I'm saying? What did that process look like for you? And what would you tell people who are like eager to buy the new thing?
So to the first part of the question, the settings, it's kind of funny. So when I started shooting, I had a Canon T7i. And I got forced into shooting manual. Like my homie he was like, bro, there's no way. So I got forced into shooting manual. So it was like, okay, Canon was easy though, super easy to understand. And it was no log footage.
Right.
So it was just like, straight out of camera, tweaking ISO and aperture was nothing crazy to learn.
Right.
When I got to Sony, however, shout out to my boy Shad again. He's the techie one. I'm not the techie one. I'm not the going in and figuring out. So we have the same cameras, right? He's got an A7 IV, he's got an S3. So we got the same system. So when we rented those FX6s, it was his job to look up
set everything up
that we needed, set the cameras, because he was the DP, main DP. So it was his job to look up the camera settings and make sure everything was good. I just approved the final image.
Right.
Once it's on the director's monitor and I'm able to see that. So, and then in photos, I think it's a little easier when you shoot strobes because it's kind of the same every time.
Yep.
As the only thing that really changes like white balance and stuff, or if you're wanting to, I guess, have more or less things in focus.
Yeah.
But when you're shooting studio strobes, it's pretty similar, just more so learning like lighting ratios and stuff like that, which is a whole different thing. So for me, reps, getting out there shooting more.
Most
There
definitely.
have been multiple times when I shot something, mostly like collabs or like spec projects. I shot something, I come back and I'm like, this is not how I should have exposed this.
Right.
Because it's so hard to color now, or I've washed something out. So really just reps.
So the question to that, are you more so an advocate of shoot then learn or learn then shoot?
Learn then shoot.
Okay.
So I'm a big advocate for, I'll watch a YouTube video or whatever the case may be, YouTube video, Instagram video, whatever, and I'm gonna go do it. Because I have to. I won't retain it if I just watched it. I have to go, try it out. Because like I said again, I can show you a technique. You can go think you set it up exactly how I set it up. And when you snap that photo, it looks nothing like what I just showed you. Because there's other variables. You have higher ceilings. Your white wall is a little further away than my white wall was. Or your studio has black walls. So now the light's not bouncing the same as it was in my
white wall.
That's crazy.
So go do it and know the spaces that you're going to be using.
Yep.
That way, when a client comes to you, again, it's repeatable. You're like, nah, you go stand right here. I'm gonna put this light right here, light right here. And I already know the product I'm gonna get. So
That's dope.
yeah, learn it, watch the tutorials. I'm not saying those are bad to do, but get out there and shoot. Too many people don't get out there and shoot.
And so going back to his initial question, do you think the reason why people want the next best thing or the biggest and baddest camera is because they're more so obsessed with quality? And they think that just because you have the most expensive camera, most expensive lens, that'll get you the best quality, when in fact it's those other variables that you mentioned, knowing the settings.
I think it's twofold, actually. The first piece is some people genuinely think that's the missing link. And in some cases, it is the missing link, right? So if you're coming from, like I said, a T7i up to an A7 IV, yes, you will see a dramatic increase in your quality. But if you already have an A7 IV and you buy a FX3, you are not going to see a dramatic increase in the quality of your videos, right? So that's number one. Some people do think, it's the missing link. And sometimes it can be, sometimes it's truly not. You're just not learning the other, things. You're not learning lighting. Lighting is hands down the number one factor to me in creating better videos or photos, is learning how to light your subjects or whatever it is that you're trying to bring the audience's eye to. That's number one. The second reason, I think people have a consumerism problem.
That's all I was about to say.
I think people just have a problem with like spending and just wanting what's new, because people do it with everything.
That's all I was about to say.
The new Jordans,
new truck,
new phone, the new car, the new apartment. Like, I just think people have like an issue with just thinking like, oh, my stuff's old, and then clients also sometimes have that same bias. Right. Oh, you're not shooting with a red, like you're not. So,
And that's to the next point. How do you feel about when they're like kind of receiving that misinformation on these products that you should be shooting with and stuff like that? Because a lot of times you'll watch YouTube videos, but so many people and so many creators are doing reviews on these cameras and stuff, and they're telling you to like, you need to get this, or you need to buy this, or don't buy that, don't buy this. Like, where is that middle ground, like, to know where it's like this person is like real talk, like telling me, so this is what we need?
I think that's where the individual has to take some onus and use their discernment, and also what goes back to my point of learn it and then go shoot it. If you are getting clients with the camera you have, you don't necessarily need to upgrade. No. If you're creating the images that you love with the camera you have, you don't necessarily need to upgrade. And this is a reason why a lot of photographers and videographers they either balance out, like they break even, or they don't make any profit. And it's because you buy too much gear. You didn't need that eighth light, bro, when every shoot that you do is a single light shoot. right? So if you're getting the results that you want, whether that be the images, the videos, the clients, whatever the case may be, then you don't need to upgrade. Right. When I'm a firm believer in that when you upgrade, it should be for a reason. It should really have an impact on what you're doing, whether that be business wise. So if you want to move into a space where they only use reds, all right, you're going to have to get you a red.
That's
right?
gonna make sense.
If you want to shoot broadcast, okay, fine. You got me. Get an FX9.
Right.
I'm not tripping. But if you're a content creator and you have a A7 IV, a GH6, a R5, bro, changing that camera is not going to make you, the next best thing.
Right.
So I think that's honestly, I'm sorry, it's on the individual. The YouTubers are going to YouTube, bro.
They're going to YouTube.
They're going to get their money.
These cameras. And as long as y'all keep buying them, they're going to keep pushing them. So use your discernment.
For sure. What do you see? Because you kind of talked about how you didn't post a lot of content on your own personal page, or you'll take breaks, whatever. Where do you see that balance? And like now, it's almost like everybody wants to be the Instagram photographer or posting the BTS or be the photographer who people know from Instagram more so than they want to be a very good photographer or a very good videographer, whatever it might be. Is like, where do you see that fine line of like, yes, my content does promote me and all that type of stuff, but I don't need my content to be successful. You know what I'm saying? And now with that new generation is like, what would you tell them? Obviously we know like, the photo and the content has to come first for the clients. You know what I'm saying? Your work has to come first.
Yeah.
What would your like direct conversation be with somebody like that though?
So it's kind of, so I'm very big on like, even when you're not first starting, even when you're fairly new. So I say like year in, 2 years in,
right. There's
still something that somebody can learn from you. Right.
That's what I say.
I don't mind people putting out the content.
Yeah.
I guess for me, where I kind of get like, is you're not getting better. So you've been doing it for 2, 3, 4 years, but you're not getting any better with the content that you're putting. And I'm not talking about like your reels. I'm talking about your photos, your videos, work. Like your work is not getting better. So I do think you have to find that balance between, okay, you want to do content creation. Cool. But it's just like a basketball player. You have to get reps in.
Right.
A lot of people only shoot when they get a client. You don't get any better doing that. Facts. Because we know when you first start out, and even when you're seasoned, you're not shooting every day.
No.
You're not shooting.
If anything, when you're seasoned, you should way less.
Right. Yeah. In certain seasons, you might not shoot for a month if you just wait for a client. So how are you to get any better? Right. And that's how other people sneak in, they pass you, or whatever the case may be. So I don't mind people, putting out content and doing all of that and trying to, spread the awareness, because I'm gonna do it. Right. And regardless.
Exactly.
And whether I become a known photographer from Instagram, you know me from that, or you know me from my work, it doesn't make me any difference. Right. Honestly, it doesn't make me never mind, but get better. Like,
I feel that. 100%.
Learn something new. Like, don't be the same photographer you were 6 years ago.
Yeah, literally.
So,
you kind of talked about your boy Shad or Shaq? Shad. Is he like the most influential person you've had in your content journey? Or in your career as a photographer?
Definitely.
I feel like we've all had that one person, so that's what
100%.
And then there was one other thing you touched on that I want to go back to, but I don't think I could touch on it. I don't think I can remember what it was.
In terms of like the content creation, right? You said you wanted to get more into like putting out more content.
Yeah.
Do you feel like what do you feel like that missing piece was for you to like start earlier when putting out content? Is it that you already have the clients and you're like, I know you said you have an editor and stuff that's, doing all your edits and you have more free time, but usually when people do a lot more content is to, bring awareness, get more clients, but you got a lot of that already. So in terms of, what you want to do with your content creation, why do you feel like now is the time to like start putting out more content for yourself?
What's the benefit from it?
Yeah. So actually, man, it's weird how my career has gone. So I started out like if I was to unarchive everything from my original page, doing content creation. Like that's what I started out doing. Right. I was doing motivational fitness videos. I was doing talking head stuff like this, like just like, giving advice and things of that nature. And then got into the client space and like just locked in. Like didn't even think about having someone come film BTS. Like I would just lock in. And I think I kind of just stayed there for too long. Right. And now I'm trying to come back up to where I was. And of course, the balance, but I truly enjoy like talking to the camera,
It's easy
making that type of content. Like I just enjoy it.
Hell yeah. And especially I've kind of felt in this too, like since the end of the year, like 6 months maybe. Like it's easy to fall into that too.
Yeah.
When everything is going good outside of Instagram, it's easy to not want to post on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I feel like a lot of successful people, like especially Instagram successful people, like they'll come up and they'll have their blow up on Instagram real quick. And then it's like, okay, now my clients are good, my money's good, whatever it might be. And then they just kind of hit that stale point. You know what I'm saying? Or not stale point, but stale point in terms of followers on Instagram.
Because I feel like people will still find you now that you've hit that plateau of like followers and your work being shown. But at what point do I say I need to keep this going versus I got enough clients, I can escape Instagram for a long time. You know what I'm saying?
And see, that's why my focus is more on YouTube, because YouTube is, in a way, it can act as like passive income. So if you post something that is very searchable, that people will want to search for years to come, you can take those breaks, right? Your posting schedule doesn't have to be quite as demanding. You can take an Instagram break if your YouTube's popping. There's plenty of YouTubers that don't even post on Instagram really. So that's kind of why my focus is more there, because Instagram is very, now. It's even more.
Yeah, for sure.
3 to 5 times a day type of vibe. So,
and right now, if you really wanted to, once you start getting into YouTube, you can take clips of the long form and put it on Instagram.
Yep. You can do that.
For sure. So I remember what you said. You said you switched over from Canon to Sony. I did the same thing. What was the reason, or was there a reason that you did that at that time?
So yes, at the time that I did it, Canon, if I'm not mistaken, was not in the mirrorless space.
Okay.
So when I switched from my T7i, I switched to the A7 II.
Yeah.
And that, man, no. It wasn't, when I did it. That camera sucked. And it was just behind.
Right,
it was just behind its time. So I
it was just
to the
mirrorless.
A7 II. Yeah. I switched to the A7 II. Autofocus was bad. Like, I honestly could have kept my Canon. But then immediately after that, the A7 III came out. And that, again, is like I talked about before, a big jump in technology. So I was like, okay, I'm going to switch that out. I already had a lens. So I went and got the A7 III, and I shot on that camera for a while. That camera probably got the most run out of any camera I've had. And then from there, I went to the GH5. And that's why I said we're going to get there in a minute. I went to the GH5 and had the GH5 for quite a minute, and then the A7 IV.
Got you.
Did anyone guide you on saying like, hey, buy the A7 II for your first camera?
So no, the Canon, yes, I got guided into buying a Canon. Okay. The person who got me into photography, he really pushed Canon. Like that was his thing, Canon DSLRs. So I got that, and it was like a pack, like a creator pack. So it came with like a bunch of stuff. So I was
SD cards and lenses.
You think the kid lens is like?
And then I bought the Nifty 50. They had the 1.8. So I was like, okay, this is a cheaper, to get in. The A7 II, same deal. It was like a Christmas sale that was like $1,000. Like you could get the A7 II for $1,000. So I really wanted to upgrade my camera, and I convinced my mom like this is a good deal. So we got it. And then the A7 III came out, and I was like, I went and sold that A7 II and
ASAP
got the A7 III.
Got you. Anything else, bro?
I think we good. We can get into that quick fire because I got some for him.
That'll start the speed questions, honestly.
All right.
So what's your favorite camera brand? There
are no wrong answers.
No wrong answer. Okay. Video wise, Panasonic is my favorite camera brand. Photo wise, Sony and Fuji.
Got you. Next thing, what's your favorite editing software for photo and video?
Photo, Photoshop. Video, Final Cut is
Got
what
you.
I use. Final Cut. I'm trying to get into DaVinci, but Final Cut for now.
If you could have one lens in your camera bag that's not a 24-70, what would you pick?
Not a 24-70. 35-150. 35. And that's actually the next lens I'm going to get. 35-150.
Got you. What camera did you start on?
The Canon T7i.
Yep. And how long did you use that camera for before you thought it was time to buy a new one?
I want to say I had that camera up until 2019. So 2 years.
Got you.
Now,
I know you said Sony for like photos, right? What do you use the A7 IV for photos right now? Okay. Because what I heard on the block was the A7R5 is a beast.
It is. It's an expensive beast, but it's a beast.
Facts.
But comparing those two, I mean, you really can't because one is photocentric, but I know A7 IV is more of a hybrid, but you can still get the same type of quality photos from.
The biggest increase that you're going to get with the R5 is the megapixels. So being able to print, right, and being able to have more croppability. So it's gonna have a little bit of a cleaner photo, a little bit of a sharper photo. So that's really the biggest difference why someone would get a camera like that. Say you're shooting like boudoir, where after the session you're selling prints, you're selling books and posters and things of that nature. That's why someone would need something like that. But the A7 IV has plenty of megapixels for posting on your website, Instagram, phone, all that stuff.
Okay. And what's the most expensive camera you shot with?
Probably the FX6.
FX6?
Yeah, probably the FX6. Yeah.
So no dragons.
No, I haven't shot with any of the reds or anything like that. Not me personally.
What last thing, as of right now, what's the goal camera that you have for yourself? Not even goal. What's the one camera you would buy for yourself if money wasn't an object?
Remember, no wrong answers.
Money was no object.
Like, I want that camera right there for whatever reason it might be.
Wow, I think it's the A9.
Yep.
The Sony A9 with the
came out.
man. It'll be that one.
Got you.
That would be a hybrid beast right there.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up, bro, is there anything you want to leave with other creators that are up and coming, or just not even up and coming, just other creatives who are in the same space as us, rubbing shoulders with? Anything that you want to leave those type of people with?
Yeah, man. I guess the biggest thing would be to get out here and create things you like more. Do more passion projects. Get together with other creatives that you can kind of lean on and really lean into collaboration. Just because you have an idea doesn't mean that if you share it with somebody else and they help you iterate it, that it can't be that much better and that much more elevated. And you never know, like, I've learned things from people who weren't in the game as long as me or didn't think they could teach me anything. And just, being more observant and being on their set. So definitely just get out here more, create more passion projects. And, don't be afraid of collaboration, right?
Well, definitely.
There's money for everybody, and we can all make it together.
Say less, bro. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate
your first guest.
Man, I appreciate
first guest.
it.
This will be a good time. Hell yeah, bro. So that's it for episode number 3 of the CaptureCraft podcast. We appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm Izzy. We got our very first guest, Brent McCoy, and your co-host, Jared Harris. We'll catch y'all in the next one.
We out.